Trustee Verma, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Mark Sterling, absent excused. Trustee Willie Mena.
Here?
Trustee Larry Chuckeyes, he's absent excused. Trustee John Lesko.
Here.
Trustee David Margolis.
Present.
Trustee Craig Mezernik.
Here.
Trustee Ramesh Verma here. Student Rep Ruchiri Anki.
Here.
Ankri Redigari.
Here.
Student Rep Hong, she's
Absent excused.
absent excused. So we can have the pledge of
Please
allegiance.
rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval and overview of today's agenda. Do we have any changes? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
With the chair's indulgence, I'd like to remove item 1 from its present location as part of the consent agenda and move it as item E of the treasurer's report, so it become 9E.
So the warrants and claims? Okay. That one is noted. We'll also note that we will be removing executive session tonight. We had decided that we would be better served to have our entire board at the, which we expect to have in our next August meeting here, so we'll go ahead and postpone that till next month. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and suggest we, just housekeeping. 15A is really an action item today, so that discussion will happen under approval for matters for board action. Okay, any other comments? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have
Make
it.
sure I understand, the motion was the amended agenda?
The amended agenda,
Okay.
as amended. Yep, so,
Aye.
all right, thank you. Okay, thank you. Next topic is correspondence. Julie, I think we received a very nice letter from the Council General.
On to number 3, goal setting.
I'm sorry. Consent agenda. We do have 2 items remaining on consent agenda. Do we have any comments? None. Can I have a motion?
Now, approval of goal setting session minutes. Okay, we have a minutes here in this.
Yes.
It's pages 12 and 13.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're at consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve consent agendas items 2 and 3 as set forth.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. And again, we have moved consent agenda item 1 to 9E. Okay, next topic, again, correspondence. Julie, we did receive a nice letter from the Council General in Japan, I understand.
Yes, this is a letter from Dr. Katayama, and Trustee Ramesh Verma and I had the opportunity to tour him at the Novi Library back on June 18th. It was a wonderful tour. He is the Consulate General of Japan and currently has an office in the Detroit area, and reaches out and makes himself available to our Japanese community, along with getting to know how to better serve his population as well. So this was the first time that we had the opportunity to meet him. He, as you see from the letter, was very pleased with our library. It was the first time that he had visited, and he is well aware of the population that we are serving currently with our Japanese population, and was very impressed with the materials and the different services that we provide to the Japanese community. So it was an honor to have him in our library and to tour him that day. And I don't know if Trustee Verma wants to mention anything else.
Thank you. You already said it.
Oh, it was.
I have been meeting him because he comes to our Asian Pacific for American Affairs commission, so he comes to our meetings there. That's why I got into his friendship. I invited him to come to the library.
It was a very, very nice meeting. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to strike up even more of a friendship and continue growing for that opportunity. So thank you.
And we are honored that he has invited us on August 15th for dinner at his residence.
Yes.
Very nice, I did notice that as well. Okay, thank you for that. Next item on the agenda, number 6 is presentations.
Yes, well, I'm going to go to the podium at this time. There are a couple people in the audience, a few people actually, that I'd like to introduce and welcome up. Gary Kelber, he is our foundation representative for the Novi Rotary. So Gary's going to come up. I'm also wanting to introduce Caleb Forge and Josh. Josh has to remind me of his last name, I feel so bad. Thank you, Gilwood. Josh Gilwood. So let me give you just a little bit of an overview. The reason I have these gentlemen joining me this evening is because we launched an amazing program, actually a second launch, and a continuous project, I hope, for the future. But we're building literacy in our community. And the reason we are doing this is because we want to continue to grow readers in Novi. So we had the fortune of working with the Novi Rotary this past spring to bring additional read boxes to the Novi community. And tonight I want to publicly recognize and thank Gary Kelber, Rotarian for the Novi Rotary, as well as our whole entire Novi Rotary group for their support. They donated $1,500 to the library. And with those funds, we were able to create 2 more read boxes to add to the one that's currently in Lakeshore Park. We now have 3 in the community. An additional one went into the ITC Park, and then we have one also at Rotary Park, which is wonderful and fitting because of our Rotary group here in Novi. So Caleb and Josh were artists that worked on the literacy box, the read box that we have at the ITC Park. So Caleb and Josh, I want to thank you also for your amazing work and what you did for us, and we truly appreciate your artistic flair, because I can tell all of you as trustees that this project has really taken off. We have had numerous readers. As you see from the board pack, already over a couple hundred books have been circulating from the boxes since we started this in early June. The ITC Park actually was the first one to go in early June, and then Rotary Park went in on the 26th of June, and it's going like gangbusters. In fact, Trustee Mesternak took it upon himself to send out an email and to encourage his neighborhood to, take part in and utilize the Rotary box, since he's right in that neighborhood. And he has received some wonderful feedback, which I've shared with all of you from some of the neighbors in that community. So we are, in a real small way, building literacy not only from the building itself, from the library, but also just a passive way in our neighborhoods. So Caleb and Josh and Gary, I want to thank you from myself and from the library board for your amazing support and for you taking part in this project. So thank you, and thank you very much. I can tell you that we still have a few funds left from the Rotary donation, and we are working with the city. So the Parks and Rec Department also needs to be thanked, because they've been working with us very closely in identifying some great locations for our read boxes. And we have some additional money still sitting, because there's a 4th box that will be planned. We don't have the exact location yet, but we're working with Parks and Rec. So hopefully next year we'll be able to unveil one more. And then I've had responses from actual neighborhoods, and neighborhoods wanting to put them in as well, which I think is fantastic. So, we'll continue to look at and see where those needs are and where people might find it of interest. But I think it's a wonderful way to continue to share reading and share books. I also just want to note Jacqueline DeCarolis. She was our artist for the Rotary box, and she was unable to make it this evening, but she did a great job as well decorating the box that's currently in Rotary Park, and so I also want to mention her this evening. So we had some amazing artists and obviously a wonderful donation. And I just hope that this continues. So I want to thank you for your support in allowing us to do this. This comes from strategic planning and growing literacy, but also to the great people that have been part of it. So thank you again. Okay? Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay. Ready for?
Okay, so next presentation. Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry, go ahead.
absolutely.
Well, I congratulate you for this and the whole library. You are doing such a good job. Just curious.
Sure.
Any other library in Michigan, they do this type of thing?
I do know of some communities that are doing this, and it's slowly, I can't tell you that it came from Novi's start, but there was an article a little over a year ago that ended up in the Detroit News Free Press, and I think that sparked actually for just the state in general for this idea. It definitely sparked us. I do know of, I believe Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids that have started to looking at this, and I have been asked now currently from one of our library neighbors for me to give my insight based on our project and how we went about our process. So I'm happy to provide that information to other communities, but I do think we're on the forefront and one of the forerunners for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I'd like to introduce Betty Lang. She is our collection specialist at the library and also the liaison for the Historical Commission. And Betty is going to provide for you this evening an annual review of the Historical Commission and what has been accomplished. Betty?
Do you know how to turn this on?
Okay, I'm here to talk to you tonight about the accomplishments of the Novi Historical Commission during the last budget year. They have been very busy, accomplished a lot with an incomplete board. For most of the year, they were 2 people short, and it's only a 5-member commission, so 2 lacking people means a lot of work that can't get done. The first thing that they finished was the Motor City markers, which I'm sure you're aware of, and there will be 8 in the city. And I know you've seen the prototypes, but the actual signs are here waiting to be installed. And I wanted just to refresh your memory again about them, so I'm going to go through them quickly and then tell you other things. One of them is the Novi Corners, and this was the intersection of Grand River and Novi Road. There were many things there. That was kind of the hub of the community. There was a school, churches, merchants, general stores, all of that type of thing, so that the people in the Novi community could come in and get their materials there. The Novi Special was important to Novi because it actually did race in the Indianapolis 500, but never won. The person responsible for it was a man who was very interested in racing. His name was Lewis Welch, and he was responsible for working on the engine and naming it after his community. The corridor of history was Grand River, which was the main street. And again, this was something that at first ran from Detroit to Brighton, and people were able to come out on that stretch and get to the amusement parks here in Novi, because at that time the actual streets of Grand River and cars were becoming much more available. Transportation was important, and that was when the train station came in and the railroad, because before that you had to go into Detroit either by coach, by wagon, or actually horses. So in order to get a lot of their materials, the farmers could put a lot of things on the train, get them to Detroit quickly, and the merchants could do that too. And also, they could bring back a lot of material so that the merchants had things they didn't have before and could provide them to the community. toll gate is an example of a living education center. It started out as a 160-acre farm, and it was settled by John Bassett, who was one of the first settlers of Novi, and his wife. It stayed, I believe they started in 1837 on this land, and it stayed in the family until 1951. Then it was sold, and later it was donated to Michigan State University to use as an educational area. And this kind of is the substance of what the agriculture right in Novi. So this, you're seeing a very small portion here. Pavilion Shores Park now covers, it's almost a year old, and it now covers the area where the amusement park, the lake attractions, and so forth were located. And there are going to be 3 markers on that park area. And they will commemorate the previous recreational uses of this property, and the Motor Cities project will be unveiled at the park in early September. This is the first one that will be there. It's about the Walled Lake Amusement Park, which ran from 1929 to 1969. And it was a typical amusement park with all the amenities, food, rides, and especially the large roller coaster, which was called the Dragon, and you can see that in a couple of the pictures. The next one was called the Walled Lake Casino. The first thing we need to know is that casino, at this time, that word had nothing to do with gambling. It meant a gathering of social or political groups. So the Walled Lake Casino became very popular, and as you can see how crowded it was, because they started bringing in big bands. You had Louis Armstrong, you had Benny Goodman and others, and people came out on dates, and this was their place to dance. So it became very popular and widely used. There were also lake attractions in addition. You had fishing, you had boating, you had a large water slide, which you can see in the center, and you also had campgrounds, so people from Detroit could come out for the weekend. I was reading something on one of these that was kind of amusing. For the amusement park, people from Detroit, the big city, came out, and so many of the people in Novi wouldn't let their children go to the park because they didn't want the mixing with those big city people.
That was me.
You couldn't go?
No, I was from Detroit.
Oh, you were one of those big city people. Okay, another big project that the commission took on was their oral history project. They had talked about this for a long time. They developed a plan, and they actually worked through the scope of the project. What did they want to do with these oral histories? What people did they want to interview? What kind of information would benefit the history of the area? So they've started by making a list of people, and of course they're going to work with the oldest people first because we value their comments and we need to get to them. So they interviewed and hired a librarian to conduct these interviews, and the first oral history is almost completed. And as they are completed, they will be cataloged and placed in the local history room so that anybody can use them and hopefully get a good first-hand picture of Old Novi. They also provide a speakers series. They've been doing this for about 3 years. And the first year, attendance wasn't very good. So then they kept going, and they kept bringing in really good speakers and interesting topics. And they did 3 this year, and they had a total of 169 people attending these 3 programs. So I would say that is excellent attendance. They do displays, which are located in the Novi Historical Cabinet in the lobby, which is next to the elevators. I can't show you pictures except for the current one because they neglected to take pictures, but this will give you an idea of the history that they covered. This is the current one down there, and it's on Novi's agricultural history because there will be a program which starts with the agricultural history. This program will be in the fall, and it will go through to the big corporations that we have now. So a lot of people really stop by this. And then they come up, many of them come up to the reference desk and ask questions. So this is a really good thing to get people used to the history of Novi, and be sure you stop by and look at it. The commission has always been very, very good about funding and donating to the local history room. And two particular donations which they had this year was the purchase of the 1877 edition of Samuel Durant's History of Oakland County, Michigan, and burial records from Novi Cemetery. This is a picture of the book, and I will try to read the bottom part for you because I think it's kind of fun. It's History of Oakland County, Michigan, with illustrations descriptive of its scenery, palatial residence, buildings. I cannot read the rest of it, it's too small. But actually, can you read it all? Okay.
Public buildings, time blocks, and important manufactories. I believe that's what it says.
Yeah, that's what it does say.
From general sketches of artists of the highest ability.
So, to me, as soon as I saw that the first time, I thought, this is going to be a little bit idyllic as far as the pictures go. But actually, the history is very sound and very good, and Novi is included in there. This is one of the artist's sketches, so he's of very high ability, and you can see this is a beautiful, beautiful drawing. It's very detailed, and it shows a large farm and the house, and at the top you have the people who owned it with their names. And as pages followed after this, you would find out about that farm and you'd find out about those people. The next thing is the burial permits. The thing that you look at these for is because it gives you the age of the person and it gives you the reason for the death. This was a poor little baby who was 1 day old, and the reason for death was premature birth. I was looking through these slides yesterday. I hadn't realized before, but I looked at the undertaker's name, and as you see, it's the same as the baby. So could have been the father or another relative in the family. And this is the other end of the spectrum. This lady was 80 years old, and this was from 1908, and she died of heart failure and paralysis. And, I mean, really, some of the things that they died from, the way the doctor describes it in some of them, you kind of wonder exactly what went on, because they describe medical situations much differently than we do now. So this gives you an idea of what the Novi Historical Commission did this year. They were very busy, accomplished a lot, and from listening to their plans for next year, I think the same thing will go on. Any questions?
Before Novi Township, it used to be part of Farmington Hills.
About a part of Farmington, yes, they
So
call
when
it.
it became Novi Township?
You know, I'm not sure of that date, but I can look it up and let you know, okay? Yes.
Thank you.
Curious, given the agricultural history of the area, have any commercial developers approached the Historical Commission for any records in terms of any of the pesticides or anything that were used in the ground that may impact the future development from an environmental perspective?
Not that I know of. I've heard nothing.
I wonder if that might be an opportunity to leverage the records that you have and work with commercial developers to give them some insight in terms of what they might be, you know, in terms of what soil implications there are.
I just want to take a minute just to thank Betty, because she's done a fantastic job as the liaison. Over the last, I'd say 4 years since we've been in the new building and they came on board and under the library, you know, we've always wanted to build and capture our history, but Betty has a wonderful flair and also has an interest in this, as you know, and she's done a great job keeping them on task. And what's been fantastic, though, about that is they really have, in the last 4 years, accomplished some amazing projects that sat for a long time that just, you know, just didn't get, and they also had some amazing leadership over the last few years. I know that we've had Roy Prentice here, and he gave a number of years, 9 actually, to the library, and we recognized Roy. And now we have Kathy Crawford sitting in the chair seat. So I think we have some great people who definitely appreciate Novi's history. We're always looking, so I want to put that out there as a plug. We're always looking for people who are interested in Novi history and wanting to continue to cultivate it and find it and capture it for our community. I know that Betty plans to do another document day, right?
Document donation day.
Yep, a document donation day, which will be coming up in the fall, so look for that, because we're always looking for people to share. And I do have a date of September 5th for all of you to put in your calendar. It is a Friday at 6 o'clock, and that will be the day, or the evening, I should say, that we will unveil the Motor Cities Marker project at Pavilion Shore Park. And we'll make sure to give you more information, but just to put that out there so people are aware, anyone is welcome to attend when we do that, and we have that unveiling that night.
September 5th?
Friday, September 5th, yes. So it'll be just after the holiday. We were hoping people would be around and since school started back. Betty, thank you so much. I truly appreciate the overview and the annual review, and good job, and to you and to the group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next topic of discussion is public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the community to approach the board with any comments or concerns they may have. We ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Okay, seeing none. Next item is President's Report. Julie, do you have an update on library goals?
In the packet, you do have an example of the goals from the goal-setting session, and I know we'll get to that under matters for board action this evening. I do not have a new goals document yet because we're waiting for approval, and then we will begin. We've already started with our departments and individual goals, but you'll start to see something for the August meeting.
Okay, any questions? Okay, moving on. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I missed you again.
Is that crick in your neck? Yeah. Was there any pushback when we had the meeting? We, as a board, were a little bit confused because of the use of the word goals, the strategic goals, and then our individual goals, and we said those were really objectives, and they were broader guidelines, and our goals were more specific.
Right.
And then the staff was gonna take our goals once they're authorized, and now come up with tactics and strategies
Correct.
to accomplish those goals.
Yes.
Is everybody on board with that?
My management team has received the preliminary goals at this point. That, as far as I know, that's the only group, because I don't want to share anything until I know for sure they're approved. So from the management team's perspective, I haven't heard much. I know they're concerned. Obviously, I'll share that with you, because when they saw the second one, which was the 20% and working towards that, they're probably wondering, okay, what does that mean? I can tell you that I've had almost all of my goal-setting sessions with my managers, and there is a budgetary type of goal that works towards that for us to look at this year. So, and they're well aware of it. This was not a surprise to them. So, not pushback, I should say.
Okay. If no other comments, we'll move along to Treasurer's Report. Trustee Margolis, do you have some perspectives that you'd like to share this month?
Twist my arm.
Figured.
It's funny, we don't have our two attorneys here. If we did, I'd use the term prima facie, which basically says, I want to share my thoughts here based upon the prevailing information I have at my disposal and what I see, without delving deeper into it in terms of how accurate, precise it is. So indulge me. I'm just going to share my observations of what was presented to us as the 12th month of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2014, and the year-to-date for the 12 months ending June 14th, when in fact I know the fiscal year hasn't ended yet. How do I know that? Because of the practices that we've seen where there are retroactive adjustments once bills come to light and they get categorized in the period in which they originate. A good example is going to be in the claims and warrants, which is why I asked that we defer it until we talk about the information in front of us. So it's going to come out very positive, and I don't want any of my observations to be mistaken that it isn't glowing. But I will caution you, it's not as rosy as it looks at face value, because there are issues such as the claims and warrants and whatever else comes in over the rest of the summer until they close the audit that could impact retroactively the fiscal year that just ended. That being said, it looks like a good year, okay? Why do I say that? If you look at the activity of Fund 268, revenues are up $88,000 over our projections. The source of the increases is in basically 6 categories. Tax revenues were up $22,000 above what we had projected. Again, assuming no clawback. But again, I can only go by what I see. State aid was up 10 grand. We collected 15,000 more in investment interest than we had budgeted. The next category, to me, is phantom, but again, on paper, we made market fluctuation gains of 17,000 above the $0 that we had projected. So I guess it's booked. More importantly, meeting room revenue is 15 grand higher
Yes.
than what we had budgeted.
Yes.
That we do control, that we do influence, that the staff deserves all the kudos for. And then there was adult program revenue of 4688, which wasn't budgeted but included in the revenue. So all in all, we had projected revenues of $2,493,600. We come in unadjusted for any future clawbacks or changes, $2,581,965. That's a 3.5% increase over what we had projected. So that's a good starting point. In terms of expenditures, I'll go into the individual category components and then look at the aggregate. In the category of personnel services, the largest category, we had forecasted it to be 76.73% of revenues. It actually turned out to be 71.72%, or a 5% differential there. Another way to look at it, of the budget that we had allocated, $1,913,000, we only spent 96.78% of that budget, or there's a 3.22% savings of roughly $62,000 from what we had budgeted for the fiscal year ended.
Excuse, those numbers you're mentioning, I don't see them on my, where are you pulling those from?
From my analysis of the numbers that you see in front of you. Because unfortunately, the presentation that you get is not real clear, but you show on page 22, for the month of June, you spent $184,800. On a year-to-date basis, $1,851,709. We had budgeted $1,913,000. The differential is $61,590. Well, I just calculated it for you, but I mean that's the impact of what they're showing you here.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
In the category of supplies and materials, again, we had budgeted 22.69%, or $565,700. It came in at the 504,849 that you see in the middle of page 22 is actually 19.01% of revenues, or another way to look at it, of the 565,700 that we budgeted, we only spent 86.77%, or a 13.23% savings. That translates into 75,000 less than what was budgeted in that category.
Okay,
Yep.
the budget numbers that you're stating are not the same as in column one.
Oh, it's got nothing to do with column one. No.
Which
it goes-
says amended budget.
Yeah, I can't validate that. It goes back, it goes back on page 17, the adopted budget for 2013, 2014. Those numbers.
Right. When we did the final budgets, we gave what we thought would be the amended, so the city put in the amended numbers for column one, but David is working from the original budget, yes.
Oh, okay, that's where I'm getting, that's where I was getting confused
Okay,
with this.
yep, sorry, yes.
Again, I can't validate what they're putting in the first column, because I know on page 22, the very first item is off 10 grand. The fund allocation, we authorized 481, and they're showing 471. I didn't want to get lost in it. I come back to what, this is what we adopted.
Okay,
This is, this.
I think it's a little clearer now.
Yep. Again, one of the things that irritates me, if we accept at face value the 9267 spent in the month of June, then I assume the year-to-date would be last meeting's year-to-date plus the June's activity. Oh, no, there's another $4,000 retroactive changes in that category, okay? But let me draw your attention, because this will be germane when we get to the claims and warrants. In the line item called 268,000-745.300, electronic resources, it shows 0 spent in the month of June. Okay? Just keep that in the back of your head for a minute. So, $75,000 savings in that category here. It's very positive at face value, right? Moving on, we have a category called services and charges. We originally had budgeted $438,700, which would be 17.59% of revenues. It actually comes in at $430,280. That's 16.67 again, so it's slightly better than what we budgeted. In terms of the amount that we had allocated, we spent 98.08%, or roughly a 1.92% savings. So we gained $8,400 not spent in that category at face value. The last category is capital outlays, where we had budgeted $57,000, we wound up spending $47,931.70, or 1.86% of revenues versus 2.29, or 84% of budget, therefore saving $9,000. You add all those categories together, we had originally budgeted to spend $2,820,753, which if you go back to the original revenue budgets was still more, it was a deficit. We had projected to spend $2,974,700, which was 19.29% more than the revenues that we had projected. So we thought that we would be short roughly 19%. We came in by spending $2,827,553 at 109.26%. So of the total that we had budgeted, we only spent 94.82%, therefore saving 5.18%, or roughly $154,000. So you gain $88,000 on revenue, and you save $154,000 on the expenditure side. Your shortfall is $239,000 at face value versus the $481,000 we authorized. So it looks like we saved this year $242,000, or roughly 50% of what we expected to spend. Okay? Good job. You're paying attention here. But I don't think all the cards have played. So I will call your attention
Still a fourth of a deck left.
to the warrants on pages 3 and 4. And we're being asked tonight to approve roughly $69,000 worth of expenditures. In the middle of page 3 are 3 items Gale, Cengage, Midwest Collaborative, and Tutor.com. All three of those categories are electronic resources.
Correct,
That 743,300 account, which is $29,000.
correct. Which is
Okay.
for the new fiscal, starting July 1. It will not be out of your June expenditures. I can tell you that right now.
All right, then
Because
there's a typo here, because it said 63014 for the first one, okay?
it goes through that. Oh,
Okay.
that should be 15.
Okay,
That is a
okay.
mistake.
Okay, all right.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes. So these are, I knew where you were going.
okay,
and yep.
well, I'm just saying, all right.
And these are all for the new
Good,
fiscal
okay.
starting July
This
1st.
is
Yes.
starting to sound better already.
All
I'm
right,
happy
so-
to be giving you good
All right,
news.
so let's go on page 4. The third item down is DTE Energy from
Yes.
April 24th through May 21st.
Yes.
$9,700,
That will be in the June.
okay?
Yes.
Well, not only that, but if it only goes through May 21st, there should be
Correct.
from
There's
May
another bill.
22nd through June.
Correct.
So there's gonna be another 6 weeks on top of it, so
Yes.
there's gonna be another,
Yep.
10
It's-
grand.
It's
Okay.
approximately $11,000,
Right.
absolutely. Yep.
okay? Another invoice, Brian Services for mulch on May 23rd,
Mm-hmm.
$4,300. I'm assuming they're not part of the June numbers we're seeing.
They're,
Once we
They
approve
might not
this
be yet. You're
and we get
correct. Mm-hmm.
funded, bottom line is you're not gonna spend 242,000 in retroactive
No,
adjustments, so
no.
you're gonna come in
we are,
ahead of schedule.
yes,
you
and
get- you get credit for that,
significantly,
okay?
yes.
But
But
to
there
do
are still
that,
things.
extrapolate that first column, I
Right.
don't know where we're gonna land. I suspect instead of 240, it's gonna
Maybe
be
200?
maybe 150 plus, 150 to 200 plus, okay? I'm guessing 50 grand more will be attributable to last year.
Yeah. I think-
And they're, hopefully, because of the attention they're paying to the taxes, we won't see any big adjustments.
I can tell you that from the leadership meeting that I attended this Tuesday, it looked, from the comment that was made from our finance director, that the monies that were already in the July packet were good numbers. So as far as I know, yes. So hopefully there won't be too
Can I
much of a
keep going?
change. Yes,
Go ahead.
You haven't tired of me yet?
No, go ahead. I just want to make sure, we're covering library budget, which is A, and C, Walker Fund.
No,
Well, we're going to get to Walker Fund,
He's
now.
going to, yes.
Walker, the financials of Walker Fund.
Okay, yeah, and I've talked about the warrants and claims, we're still gonna need to approve those.
I understand, I've got that on the list.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
but I just wanted to point out, it's just timing.
it is. And we're trying to give you everything, Marcia and my office, we want to let you know everything right up front as it's coming out of the building. Because we figure it's better for you to know that at least you're seeing it, but it might not be yet reflected. We like to give you those numbers, so it's better for you to know now than later. And I'm glad you pointed it out, but those are new expenses for July 1. At least the electronic databases. The other ones will be,
Right.
yes, will be on the
And-
old. And we have until, what's the August date? August 15th is your closing date for any of those receipts or anything still to be coming in to reflect the 13-14 fiscal year.
All right, but the skeptic in me has to ask the question. You have the ability to shape the budget by deferring the acquisition of materials and supplies from one fiscal year to the other. So that's a quantitative analysis. It begs the question, qualitative, did anybody notice that we didn't have any substantial books and materials and electronic resources bought in the month of June?
That's right. That's because we
No, that was
finished
the
out.
question, did
Yes.
anybody notice?
Oh.
And did service suffer?
No.
Because we didn't
No.
accelerate it into last year?
No,
to,
absolutely not. And it actually works in our favor to be doing that because of the way books are released in the spring. It does not affect the public in any regard. We're usually pre-pubbing and having things ahead of time. We're ahead of the schedule. So if there's something that's coming up, we're purchasing ahead and then releasing it on the dates we can and already have it in-house.
Okay.
So we plan
Well,
ahead. that
going
way.
back to the comment you made about your staff getting antsy about one of the goals and objectives.
Sure.
This is one area that you have direct influence.
Absolutely.
We can't dictate to
Yep.
you, we give you budget parameters,
Yep.
but you determine what it is you're buying.
Yes.
And what, the needs of the
That's right.
patrons are. So you have that flexibility.
Yes.
You've always had that
Right,
flexibility.
right.
All you gotta do is click your heels 3 times and you're home. you
It's
know?
not even 3.
All right,
Just before we continue, just a general question. I'm not familiar with governmental accounting, but is this typical in governmental accounting?
It
I'm
is.
basically in the corporate world,
No.
or was in the corporate world. I just can't believe that. Or is this unique to Novi?
No,
no.
this is
it's
governmental
typical
accounting.
Of nonprofit governmental accounting.
Correct.
Is that?
Gatsby.
It would drive you nuts.
I think it would.
But
And
that,
that will, it is.
but that's why we asked Carl
Absolutely.
to work with us and explain to us, you know,
Yes.
what the constraints and parameters that we're
Correct.
dealing with. I didn't like the answers, but at least
But-
I understand them now,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So, you know, the bruises from banging my head against the wall have kind of, you know, healed a little bit. But I'm still seeing it because there were, on a year-to-date basis, there's retroactive adjustments of roughly $6,300 that we don't get to discuss. They're just kind of buried in the year-to-date numbers. That sticks in my craw because I'm just not used to it. But
Right.
I'm assuming the bottom line is we come in under budget, let it go.
Right.
Let
There's
it
even
go.
a song now about that, so.
With respect to Fund 269, we did adopt the title change, so I'm gonna call it the Library Contributed Fund 269. In the month of June, we had total revenues 11,301, the bulk of which, $12,000, is investment interest. Now, there were market losses of $5,000 that were flushed through. On a year-to-date basis, the interest earned, the hard interest earned, 31, this is the third page. Second column there.
Page 23.
31,582, and then unrealized gains and losses 17,260, or a combined 48,843. I'll ask you to keep that figure in mind for another conversation. We picked up another 4,300 in specific donations. On a year-to-date basis, 13,500. So for the fiscal year, Fund 269 generated revenue 62,343. There were no expenditures in the month of June, so the year-to-date expenditures on page 24 are 24,871. So as a result, we had positive revenues over expenditures on a year-to-date basis of 37,472. If you combine both funds together, and this is what they did on the bottom of 24, year-to-date revenues 2,644,000, year-to-date expenditures 228,450, or a net deficit of 201,000. So we had the loss in 268 offset by the gain in 269, but we're down 200 grand from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. It is reflected in the balance sheets that you see on page 25 and 26. The total assets of Fund 268 are just under $2 million, $1,999,818.52. That's down 172,000 from month of May, or down 7.93%. The liabilities, because the accrued wages here, they don't typically do that, but because it's the fiscal year end, I'm sure that they're doing that. So they're showing liabilities at June 30th, 125,583. That's up 23,395 from the prior month. The beginning fund balance was 2,113,292, which we then depleted by the face value loss of 239. So our adjusted ending fund balance in 268 is 1,874,235. And again, that includes retroactive adjustments of $5,900, but neither here nor there. In Fund 269, we gained 11,500, as we talked about earlier. So our total assets are 1,589,760.77. There are no liabilities in that account. And if you take the beginning fund balance, 1,552,000, and add the 37,000 gain for the year, you end up with 1,589,760 in fund balance 269. I don't have the agenda. Did you have the 269 budget? That's going to be something else, right?
We're gonna go ahead and discuss and approve that, vote on that during action items. So if
Okay,
you-
so, and then again, keep in mind some of the activity that we just talked about will be germane to understanding the budget proposal. So those are my observations as I see them. Again, overall impressions. The staff heard our desire not to have to spend a $500,000 burn rate. They did their best, and they're coming under that. We, though, would like to have a more formal plan going forward, how to address it, so we don't stumble upon it like we did here, but all in all, you got my thumbs up. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions? I do have a quick question. Seeing that the tide is turning positively for this year end, the question I have is related to probably one of the budget items, one of the goal items that we have later. We have discussed that we're looking to reduce our burn rate by 20% next year. Will that be based on what we had budgeted previously or what we end the fiscal year on?
Wow.
That's a good question.
Is that,
Both, the budget is a game plan, but
Okay.
the actual results are gonna dictate, what you're actually dipping into your reserves.
just a thought for when we get to that point, maybe we can define that a little more firmly so we know, right? So we actually have a goal that we can measure, because right now I'm a little confused as to how that's gonna work. But like I said, we'll be discussing that as well. Okay, Julie, you have any comments on the library cafe?
No checks have been received as of May and June. I had put some information, I believe, in your packet under my director's report. I have a meeting with Mr. Bernstein this week, and hopefully we will receive those, so that he's been asked a number of times. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Do we need to have a contingency plan if there's a further default?
Well, in the past, there is a plan. He is to be fined $150, which, when payments are late, he actually has been fined and not paid that in the past. So,
Do we have a contingency plan for replacement if needed?
well, I have a few options that we can definitely explore. I think what I want to do is wait for the meeting, because he has asked for a meeting, and I'm not quite sure what that meeting is entailing at this point. So I'm been reassured that I will receive the money for May and June. I had hoped, it was my hope to have received it so that it would have been reflected already in your information tonight in the financial reporting, but unfortunately it was not.
Do we still have the security, or is we all?
We do have a security deposit,
How
yes.
much is that?
$500. Yes. So more to come. I will keep you well informed of the meeting that will happen hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we still have an outstanding item from earlier. I'd like to get a motion to approve the claims and warrants on page 3 if we can. Can I get a motion?
Move.
We get a motion? Motion? Second?
Yep, second.
Okay, any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay, so you've got that approved, Julie, now.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is Director's Report, Julie. And I was especially interested in this new art policy. I actually, so when I read through quite a bit, trying to get some background information on that.
Sure.
So maybe you can enlighten us?
Sure. I'll start with page 27 first, just to give you a couple updates. There was information related to the Novi Rotary and their generous gift that is in there, as well as we did receive some very positive comments on the read box as residents have been using it, so I wanted to share that with you as well. And also wanted to let the board know that we will move forward with our 4th year with Listen at the Library. This is a wonderful partnership that we have started with the Chamber Music Society of Detroit, now going on for 4 years. And our friends, which generously donated $3,000, Walmart and Community Financial Credit Union, they have each donated $1,500, and that's to support these music events to take place at the library. So it's not a cost on the library to bring in these amazing musicians that have been coming to the library and to continue this. On an average, we see close to 100, if not more, attendees for this program, always on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock and once a month, starting in September through the spring months. Next month, actually, I will be bringing in those partners, the Friends, Walmart, and Community Financial, so that we can recognize them, and they will be doing a check ceremony so that the so that the Chamber Music Society of Detroit can receive that money, and we can show the partnership with all of us. So more to come on that. Giving you an update on the coupon fundraiser. I'm sure many of you were interested in knowing where we are to date, and we have successfully raised $3,600 with the coupon fundraiser.
Not reflected in last year's fundraising revenue, though, right?
No, it is. It's been put in as we've received it.
Where is it reflected? What account?
Well, it's in the new fund. It's in the new sheet. I made sure you were aware of it. In the new library contributed funds 269, the new report I gave you, which is the budget for that year. But it is reflected probably in the Book-It's accounts that have come through. That's where we've been putting it, because it was under Book-It. So that's why we've been able to clean up some of these accounts. But they've been going in as we've received them. We don't hold it.
Yeah, but the conversation that we had was there was still going to be fundraising efforts within 268 for operational related activity, and 269 was going to be contributions. That was my understanding, and now you're taking
No, you're right, and it's,
a marketing
The only
effort,
thing is-
and you're putting it in the 269 fund.
we decided it, but the money's been going in since January. So the money has been going in, and what I've done in the new budget is we'll need to pull it out, because it's sitting in the 269 account currently. And you'll see that in the new budget
Yeah,
that I'm bringing to you, yes.
Again, we haven't gotten to that, but.
Correct,
I
unsolicited
thought
versus
the purpose of
solicited.
269
Yes.
was more capital outlay oriented, and operations was gonna be 268.
Yes, so we can put
Okay.
that back in or do something with it. So we are, let me get back to my notes here.
So, I'm sorry, so the bigger question, so how does $3,600 strike you? Is that good, bad, indifferent?
Well, I mean, I would like
It's
it to
better
be
than kicking
more.
it behind, right?
Yes, our goal was 15,000. We're still working on it, we're still selling it. What we've run into as a roadblock is that, we have regular customers from the library, so they've either been asked, and now since January, they've been asked a number of times, so we've kind of run out of that pool. And we're still soliciting it, we're still getting it out, but I think it's
Yeah, and you only got 5 months left before it expires.
correct. So I think, even though it's still being sold, I think this is probably the bulk of it. Is it at the goal that I had wanted? No. But I'm happy to see that we've done some fundraising for this year.
What did we do last year?
Well, last year we had the Book It event, so it's not comparing apples to apples. I don't feel that's fair. This is a whole different fundraising opportunity that we provided. Last year was our event where we had the actual, we had the actual event at the library, and we brought in 12,000. So that's the difference. Trying something new. and, you know, an auction and a live auction and a silent auction and all of that compared to something more passive.
Was the 12,000 gross or net?
It was gross.
What was net?
I'm sorry, it was net. Gross is, we came in, we started at zero, where it was net. Yeah. So which is great for us, but, you know, it's, as I shared with the board or the fundraising committee last year when we were looking at some new opportunities, it's very labor intensive. So the time spent actually putting it together, it would have been zero if you really looked at the time. Yeah.
The book event is
The book
time,
event, yes.
yeah.
Which is why we looked for something a little different this year, just to see if, you know, could we raise the funds comparable to the book event by doing something a little more passive?
Right, and I think there's a lot of work involved to
It
the
is.
book event, and sometimes when you have an event yearly, it kind of gets stale, so it's kind of nice to change it up.
Right.
You
This
know,
actually gave us an idea, a chance to get some fresh eyes, rejuvenate, and I do think we're ready. I mean, there's,
But the trustee Checkeyes comment at
Sure.
one of our earlier meetings, it's an opportunity cost issue here.
It
If
is.
you're not spending time having to plan that event, what else could you be doing? And is that more in
Right.
direct proportion to the goals that we're holding
correct,
you to?
for this year, yes, and for future.
Sure. And I think this board has always been supportive
You
of you
have.
trying some new ideas, and I know we've always said, some will work well, some may
Right.
not, and I'm sure, you know, you might be considering having a book event next year, and
Yes.
then, for the following year, maybe you come up with a different idea to fill
Right.
that void, so.
Or we could be doing both, with one
Yeah.
being so passive and it not taking a lot of staff time. Perhaps we can get still the same sponsors that we did in a smaller book. I mean, there's opportunity there. The great thing is we tried it and there is some interest in it. People who have used it and have purchased it, I have heard only positive from the coupon, and I've heard very positive comments back from our sponsors who worked with us. So I know Steve and Rocky's, you know, they have 2 coupons in the book, specifically a lunch and dinner. They've been very happy with the people they've seen. I can tell you that's probably one of the major coupons in there. But also, just this week, I got an email from my contact with Vibe Credit Union, and they actually saw someone come in for a mortgage. So for them, you know, from the book they put in, from the coupon they put in, they saw someone return. So I think we made sure that when we sold the sponsorship, it wasn't going to be huge, but it was a commitment for the business for that sponsorship, and that actually covered the costs of the printing and everything. So again, we started net. This is $3,600 net for this project as well, which I think is great if we're starting at zero and just making a profit for the library. And we had earmarked this year for any monies that were received and donated, $3,600 will go towards some technology. So, you know, I'll have Barb and her department look at what is something that we would be purchasing, which the community will enjoy and use, we hope, and have it go towards something like that. Or maybe some additional programming and technology type classes that we can offer that won't be an expense on us and through the budget, but to be able to provide. So, and then moving down, just at the bottom of the page, we're working currently with Dr. Lee Meadows. He's a professor at Walsh College. He has an extensive leadership background in management. He's also currently working with our library network, our consortium, hosting a director's book discussion group on management, which has been very good, and I've taken part in that as well. But we were looking at an interesting facet of customer service, and him and I were having some conversations where sometimes we deal with a difficult patron. And we want to make sure that the staff is comfortable and has good responses and can diffuse and work with those types of patrons when we have them. So we're working together right now to develop a program which is having the staff provide feedback as to the types of difficult patrons that we've had or situations that have occurred at the library and how to best deal with them in the future. So this is not the library staff having negative customer service, but us to gain a way to work with patrons who might at times have a negative response to the library and what we can do to better that. So he's been working with the staff, and we've been having some sessions where the staff can actually sit down with him and provide some feedback, and then he's going to be putting together all of his information and coming back for an hour for an in-service during our in-service day in November to provide, we think, some good tactics and ways for our staff to work with those, with dealing sometimes with some negative situations. So I'm very excited about working with him on that. And that's being done pro bono, as a kindness from Dr. Meadows and Walsh College, which is wonderful to have in our neighborhood. We have been finishing up with our year-end performance evaluations and obviously new goals being worked on as well. And then there's just some information about some of the meetings and things that I've attended over the last month. Page 29 does start the conversation for the art exhibit policy. I'm bringing this to you as a first draft. I don't expect any action this evening, but opening up conversation. The purpose for this, and I can tell you that this is very close to a mirrored policy that the city uses. They've already put in an art exhibit, which they use in their atrium area. And we had the opportunity with additional funds from the Friends to install an art hanging system both in our teen space on the teen stop on the second floor and in our quiet reading room on the second floor as well. So the Friends gave us the money to put the art hanging system in. Now we wanted parameters for when we accept and allow people to hang art. You know, we have to have some guidelines in place. And this also offers an opportunity, which the fundraising committee was aware of, an opportunity for possibly some revenue that could come back to the library, because if there's a piece of art hanging and it's deemed to be sold from the artist, there's a percentage that would come back to the library as well. So it's an opportunity for an artist to put out their artwork, make it, you know, make awareness for the art and the artist in our community, but also for the library to benefit as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions or any concerns that you have at this time, if you'd like, or if you'd just like to, you know, take it in, read it, and then come back for next month. That's fine. But I know we won't have any action on it tonight.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting, some of the details and some of the stringent rules
Well-
that are in place just to have an artist hang some art in a library. And not that
And it's-
that I'm faulting you, I
No,
just
I
have found
know.
it very interesting.
The thing is, we do have some space constraints, things like that. So there does have to be some details and some size and measurements and things for us to work with. It just allows us an opportunity to make sure that, you know, we've made sure we've put the artwork out in a pleasant way for everyone to enjoy, but we want to make sure we're covered as well when it comes to doing that. Were there any questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
just on page 30,
Yes.
it talks about if an individual has a complaint about any artwork,
Yes.
they'll be asked to write a letter.
Correct.
And then steps will follow. I guess putting myself in the shoes of whoever it was that might be unhappy with something, if I come to you and say, gee, I've got some real concerns about this, and I tell you that, and then you say, well, go back and write me a letter. I wouldn't take that well myself.
Well, the reason why we do that is because it enables then the person to sit down and think about specifically what it is that they have concerns with. And we do that also with our collection policy and materials that are in the library. So we're following similar, the same, and I understand
I
that,
understand why
yes.
you, from your
Right.
viewpoint, why you want to do that. I'm just saying, if I was the person that was unhappy with it, I would probably just go home more unhappy and not write you a letter.
I can
but just-
share with you that we've had instances related to collections, and I've not received that type of response when I have. It's, like I said, it usually gives them a chance to sit down and really think about why it is objectionable for us to look at it then in a better light. It gives me also an opportunity for you as board members to hear the same thing that I have also heard, so it's a similar conversation. But I agree with you, but it does help to have it in writing.
I'm sure it does.
Any other-
And Julie, you mentioned this policy is basically mirroring the
It is similar.
city's policy?
Correct. Any other thoughts? No? Okay, I'll move on. I did include for you a final report for our teen space. I know that it is July. It took us some time to get final numbers and feedback, but I wanted you to have this. Again, this has been a wonderful program, and as you can see, the numbers have definitely gone up almost by 200%, 100%, from a year ago. So the usage has definitely grown. And I can tell you that all of our partners, the school district, the youth assistants, and also Parks and Recreation will be back next year for us to provide it again. So they're pleased with the program, and we are as well. I think it's a great use of space and an opportunity to be reaching out to our teenagers and giving them a place at the library. Moving forward, the Public Services Report by Margie Karp-Oper, which is on page 32. Just letting you know that, our summer reading program is still going on and going very strong. It goes until August. I can report to you, because I don't believe she has that in here right now. Last year, we finished our summer reading program with about 1,800 participants, and currently to date, we are over 2,000. So this program has grown, and I do attribute that to an amazing staff who works very hard with our school district and has made some wonderful partnerships with the Novi Community Schools to really get this word out about the summer reading and encouraging kids to read through the summer. This program is not only for children, though. We have a teen program, and we do have an adult program as well, which I know that the numbers are also higher in all categories this summer so far. And why wouldn't you want a sign put in your front yard that says, "I am a fantastic reader, and I read at the Novi Library"? So I think that's so wonderful, and you get that sign if you finish the program, along with some other things, including Paradise Park and an opportunity to attend a party. So adults, I encourage you as well to be reading. It's only 3 books, and that's not a lot. Moving forward, we have some information from Mary Ellen Mulcrone, and she's giving you an update on some of the things that have been going on. I also sent to the Building and Grounds Committee some updates as well today on HVAC and our air curtain. We're still waiting on a company, or the company that has identified one that'll work very well for us as an air curtain in the building, for them to identify some locations that we can go look at this and it to be working, and get an idea of the sound and how it works in a public building. So I know that she has reached out and she is trying to make some inroads with those companies to identify it. I know they're at a very busy time right now with it being obviously the warmer weather and dealing with cooling. So, but we keep on them and we keep bugging them.
The letter that you sent out today.
Yes.
From her also talked about what the drives in and out.
Yes.
Of the parking lot. Can you just give a brief comment
Sure.
on where that's at?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm hoping to have a meeting next week with interim city manager Victor Cardenas to talk further. But we know that there has been concerns about the entranceway to the building, and it's been a concern since we opened. There's thoughts of perhaps it could be widened to allow more traffic flow. There's thoughts of perhaps looking at the entrance that comes off Wildcat and somehow doing something with that for better flow of traffic. There's conversations also of creating a better footprint and better way of connecting driveways through the school district and the city buildings, more of a campus and the ability to drive through the campus before you get out on 10 Mile. All of those conversations have been going on. This came to council, which I brought to your attention a couple months ago. Council is aware, and they've had some complaints and concerns about the library and the entranceway again, so it is on their radar. And there was a study just recently completed. I just received the report after the board report was finalized. So I have a meeting next week, and I will be bringing more information to you, because the city is working with us to see what are some options for us. What can we be looking at in the future in order to perhaps change or rectify some of the concerns.
And if changes were made, those would be at the library's expense? Or the
At this
city's
point, I do
expense?
not know. And that's also one of the questions that I have raised a couple times now for meetings, is I need direction and need to know, is this something the city has now, because it went to council, is that something council will be taking on in the city or not? And that's what I hope to be finding out in future meetings. Yes, which I would be bringing then to you as well, because that's going to be a decision that will fall with our board.
There'll be some type of participation, I'm sure.
So far, the study was,
retroactively.
so far the study was done on the city, which I much appreciate. Yes.
Why don't more people, I know, I use the rear entrance going into Wildcat, because sometimes it's just backed up.
Correct.
But do people know that rear entrance is there?
We've put it out there. I think people, I don't know why people don't use it,
Which
to
one?
to be quite honest.
What rear entrance?
As you, it's in the left-hand corner as you drive into the
Dashboard?
No.
library.
It's
Yeah, it
egress
takes you onto
only.
Wildcat Drive, you just take a little U-turn, go around and come out onto 10 Mile.
Goes in front of the school?
Yeah, it goes in front of the school and come in,
But it's egress only
It's
from our
egress only.
parking lot.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I know when we were building the building and putting in options for bringing your traffic in and out, they did not want it to make egress and ingress, because, and it was the school district that had concerns of the traffic that would then flow into the school traffic and into that circle to come out. They also ran into a lot of problems with people making illegal lefts into an oncoming traffic lane. So, and I can understand that. But again, it is something that it is back up on the radar, and we had particularly one council member that brought it up and was concerned, and I think that's because he was probably using it and noticed that it's, I mean, if you're there in the morning with school, right now it's a little later at 8 a.m., 8:15, I think they start, but it's typically 7 a.m. There's major traffic in there, and then the 2 o'clock let out with the high school and the traffic, and then you have the 5 o'clock traffic, pretty much between 5 and 6:30, with people that commute coming back. 10 Mile is quite a nightmare. My office sits right there, the window, and I watch it regularly. I also see a lot of accidents which have been reported and which we are aware of. We also see a lot of pedestrian traffic that people will walk even across, and they're in that traffic as well, the car traffic, transportation traffic. But we've been told by Oakland County, because that's an Oakland County road, so just so you're aware, it's not just dealing with the city and changes to be made, it is Oakland County. There has to be so many fatalities in order for it to be really looked at. That was told to me specifically.
Somebody has to get hurt first.
Right. And I do see the Novi Police Department doing a very good job patrolling 10 Mile almost daily. But it's a concern. We will see traffic that sometimes is backed up for people to pull in. Someone who wants, and it's not made to have 3 lanes with a left turn, and that's really where the hiccup can occur, because you have someone who wants to make a left then, and it keeps all that traffic in the parking lot, the traffic coming in, and someone trying to get out and wanting to make a right. Yes, there is quite the concern. And we've had a number of patrons that have brought this to us for now 4 years since the building has been open. I am glad to see that council and one of our council members has brought the attention up forward, and we're working on it again, and it's being looked at. Yeah, so I'll keep you abreast. I have invited Mary Ellen Macron to come back to our meetings from now on. I'm sure you've noticed that in my notes. And that's because I just think with all the things that have been going on with the building and grounds and you know, with the building changing so much and the usage that it takes, it makes sense for her to be here and to answer questions, since she is definitely dealing with that on a daily basis now with her staff, and is more working more in depth with them and more hands-on. So she, because of vacations, won't be here for a couple months, but will come in October. But we'll keep you abreast of everything going on. So page 35 starts some of our statistics, and this is through the end of the year, and these are accurate. We won't have to give you any numbers that will follow later. These are to the date. So
You had to make that comment, didn't you?
I'm happy to report these are all final numbers for you.
Were these audited?
I'm sorry, were these audited? They don't need to be by me. They're audited.
Page 36.
Page, was there a mistake?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I got excited
I went through
about
these.
the library usage.
Yes.
And I said to myself, how is it that the daily average went down? That's because last year is calculated wrong. It's not 1248, it's 1155. It actually went up.
Oh, darn it.
These weren't funded.
I guess I didn't do a very good job
So
on
they're
it.
not precise.
Yes. Okay, we will fix these and bring them back, so that way they'll come back for next month.
These
No,
aren't,
I want to pat you on the back when you
No,
do good.
I know.
are these generated, are these, just out of curiosity, are these generated with Excel or anything like that, or is it
Normally
just-
they are,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
They're not just, they're not just hand calculated, so
I know.
we'll check and,
I hear they have good training at the library, so
are you saying we need a class? So I can tell you that, well, now that I'm looking, there is a mistake, yeah. So, we had a good year. My disappointment is we are a little down though, circulation-wise from last year. We were over 800,000 last year in circulation of items, and we're at 700. However, usage of the building, we're up and doing great. So more people in, maybe a few less materials out, I don't think that's too bad. The fact that we're actually connecting with people and bringing them in the building, to me, says a lot about our staff and about what we're offering to our community to actually get them out of their home and into our doors.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
we wonder, you've got a lot more people walking in the building, maybe just doing, getting
Right.
away, maybe just
Using-
enjoying,
right.
using the,
It's just
Yeah.
a meeting, obviously our meetings, in the meeting room, at which, trustee Margolis has already made comment of, it's been huge. So people are utilizing building for those purposes, as well as tutoring as well. I mean, we have a number of people use our building, as a place to run business. They'll come in and they're working from their laptop, or students, and these are college students, high school students, that are using the building. So it is, I do believe it's a very good place for them to have and to use from the community. So, as we move forward with page 37, as you can see, the computer logins from a year ago, way up in terms of the wireless usage. The public workstations, not so much, but our wireless usage is definitely up over 100,000 in terms of usage there. So doing very well. Our literacy usage in terms of our early literacy workstations.
Go back for a second.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's greater than a 50% increase year over year.
Right.
And the daily average for June, 1,800 plus, I mean,
Yeah.
you're making inroads, yes.
Right, absolutely. Page 38 shows our early literacy workstations. Again, if you look from a year ago, up again, from 239,674 to 263,648. So, and the sessions themselves are also up. Our technology training, we provide a lot of, and I know even trustee Verma was in working with his iPad and Skyping, and so and I use that as an example because I want people to know that if you are having, difficulties and you're looking for someone just to help you through something, we have a fantastic technology staff that can provide that. Sometimes they're there and on site and can be available, or you can set up appointments, and we want to make sure that we're helping people utilize their technology. On page 40, this is our usage of Frigo, which is downloadable music. Again, doing very well with the checkouts. Our Overdrive and our ebook collections, and then Zinio. Again, doing some fantastic circulation as well for our online products. Page 41, our charging stations, they were down this year from past years. In fact, it's going down a little bit, which is surprising because I know that the cars were becoming more popular. So I did have someone actually come and use it. I was at the welcome desk last week. A woman came in wanting to use it. We have a brochure that walks her through it because she wasn't totally sure. It was a little different from what she'd used in the past. And so she went ahead and used it. So I know it's getting used. It's just maybe not as much as we had thought or hoped. Meeting room rentals again. As you can see, our biggest month was May, which we celebrated 1,700 attendees just in that 1 month. And this month for June, it was 946. It was actually kind of low. So, but overall, 13,684 people used our meeting rooms for the past year. 435 rentals. I think that's just amazing. I really do. If you look at page 42, that's our library app and how that has been used. And June was another great month in terms of statistics and usage. It was up May was 19,778, we went up to 22,604. People are getting more used to it, they know that they can place holds from it, they know they can look from it very quickly, so it's working very well for us. I think it was a very good marketing tool for us to launch, knowing that there are a lot of people that are app users, and so that's just bringing us forward. The other part of my report would go on to our Friends of the Novi Library and what I've provided for you. They did approve at their meeting last week. This is their wish list for 2014-15. They approved everything but the quick boost charging stations, as you can see. That was the only thing they didn't fund. There's a 0 there, which is fine. We give them lots of things for them to want to embrace and put their name to. And so close to just over $18,000 worth of gift items that they'll be moving forward for this year. Below that then is their annual contribution. So on top of $18,000 in gift money, they also give to specific programs and events that we hold annually, and that's another $12,550. So some very generous donations from our Friends of the Novi Library. Page 44, this is their budget, which was approved at the last meeting, so you are looking at final approval on that. Moving forward to page 45 is our Novi Historical Commission and their minutes from their May meeting. Again, I just want to thank Betty Letting, who is the liaison, and what a fantastic job she's done, and appreciate the annual report that she gave so that you could see what they've been tackling. And the Motor Cities marker project is just huge to have those markers out in our community. Those have to be in place by the end of August. Actually, our deadline is August 31st, so that's what they'll be tackling for the next 6 weeks or so, and then again our unveiling on September 5th. Page 47, and I've put this into my report now, just so I can make note of it for you. So it is letter F. This is the TLN reports that we received from the director of TLN, Jim Platts. So these are just ongoing things that are happening throughout the consortium. He also included his 5-year review of what has been accomplished and what has gone on. Both June and July's reports are included for you. And I'm happy to entertain any questions if you have any. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
It's a long report today, Julie.
Yes,
Thank
I
you for
know.
that. Okay, moving on. Finally, student representative report. I know you've been waiting there patiently all evening.
Yes.
In June, we had 2 teen volunteer orientations. 38 teens attended the first one and 45 teens attended the second one. 8 people came to the teen book club meeting, and then on June 16th, 15 attendees showed up to discuss the one and only Ivan. Summer reading began on June 17th, and there were 85 teens who took part in our annual summer reading kickoff tie-dye event. The year's teen interns are Ji Ying Lee and Tanya Madawi. We are very excited to have them with us. Currently, we have 687 teen participants in the Spark a Reaction program, which is surpassing last year's numbers by 81 students. On June 24th, we had 65 teens and 20 adults attend our Reptiles program. We've used 117 teen volunteers through the month between our summer reading program, volunteers, and other programs. The upcoming programs are the Summer Bookmaking Crafts, Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum Science Festival, the Teen Uno Tournament, and the Zombies Among Us.
Okay.
So, as you can see from Rashira's report, we have had an amazing response from our teens this summer. Again, over 100 are participants in the volunteer program, and with over 600 readers for teenagers. I think that's amazing. If you think that there's about 2,000 students in the high school, and so about 1/4 of them is taking part in the summer program, I think that's great. So I thank Rashira. Z couldn't make it this evening, and I know that she's helping out as well in volunteering this summer, and it's just been a great program.
Just briefly, what is the Spark a Reaction program that has 687 participants?
That's the title of the teen summer reading program. So
Okay.
If you look back at Margie's report, there's actually 3 photos that we put into HIT. I'm just going to turn real quick. It's on page 34. For the young children, Fizz Boom Read, That's for our young readers. It goes up to, I believe, a fourth grade reading level. Then you move into Spark a Reaction, and that's the teenagers, so your tween and teens. And then for the adults, it's called Literary Elements. So those are just the titles they use to promote the programs for the different readers this year.
Good, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bashira.
Yeah. I think we look forward to your report next month, dying to find out what happens at the Zombie Among Us tape.
I think the
Yes.
Uno tournament sounds good, too.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, folks. If there is no other questions, committee reports, I believe we had one meeting since we last met. Do you have an update, Trustee Verma, on the HR committee meeting? Did you guys meet yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, we met for one issue, but we are still working on that, and we will update you next meeting.
Okay.
Basically, it's a way to help Julie reduce her expenditures by 20%. So she's working on that, and hopefully we'll have more information in the near future.
The other issue that I brought to the HR committee yesterday was that we will have to institute the new minimum wage that will be in effect September 1st. So in August, you will see information that I will bring as to what that means for a cost for current employees that are at the current minimum wage of $7.40. They will be going up to $8.15 per hour, and I will bring you that information and how that impacts the library.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Next topic is public comment. This is the second opportunity for members of the public to approach the board with any comments or concerns they might have. We ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anybody like to come to the podium? Okay. Seeing none, we now move on to matters for board discussion. I believe we had scratched off A, as we're going to be discussing that in the next section, and we have already discussed the art exhibit policy. 15C, change in the date for the 2015 MLA annual conference.
Yes, I apologize. Last month when we met, I brought you dates for 2015 for the MLA annual conference. Those were dates I received from MLA office. Unfortunately, they were related to 2014 and not 2015. So I just want to go on record that the library will close one day, either October 28th or 29th. We haven't had a decision yet made because MLA office will have to work with us on the date that they choose for the reception that we will provide for the state conference and hosting that event at the library. But what I need is an approval for the dates of October 28th and 29th, 2015, and not the dates that we had approved last month.
That's the amendment you're asking.
I don't know if it's an amendment because it already got approved, so I think it's,
Yeah, it was approved last.
right.
We approved it, we
So
approved
now
a
yes.
separate set of dates
You did,
specifically last
yes.
month, so then we'll be looking for a motion for somebody to go ahead and approve these new dates then for
Correct.
Julie?
And strike, yes.
And strike the original dates that we
disregard.
approved
Well,
last.
we didn't approve an original date because we didn't know if it was gonna be the 15th or the 17th.
We approved a set of
So we
dates.
You
said-
did.
Yeah, we said a date, so why
So-
don't we wait until we have a firm date and then we can change it then?
The only thing is I run into an issue with meeting with you and getting approval versus the calendar for 2015 and working with the city to make sure it's on there. So if I could have you approve these two dates with one of them being chosen, it will be easier for me just to move forward.
Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve October 28th or 29th for the reception to be held at the Novi Library.
So point of order, do we need to rescind the prior authorized motion?
Can we just amend that motion?
With,
Well,
As
it's
far
not
as
a
I'm,
motion, I mean, it was
well,
adopted, so.
as far as I'm concerned, what we're doing now is we're opening up additional dates for her to schedule the meeting. Right now, we had limited her to October 15th through 17th previously.
but those were 2014 dates,
Oh,
and
but-
these are
but-
2015.
Okay,
It's
but
a
that's
total,
fine.
yeah.
But those are the dates that
Yes.
we had approved. And I
Yes.
think what we're doing now is basically approving some additional dates that she can schedule schedule that
So
meeting.
that leaves both sets of dates out there.
Can't remember.
And
Which is
that's
fine.
I don't think it's problematic.
No, I don't either.
She's
You're
only
gonna
gonna
have
select
one of
one
those
anyway.
dates anyway, so, yeah.
Well, I just,
Yeah.
parliamentary procedure, I didn't know if we had to rescind it or not.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Please include in your amendment that the library closes at 5 o'clock, just so that's,
That particular day.
yes, that particular day. We will close at 5, and be closed to the public, for a private reception.
Okay.
So one day you are thinking after 5 o'clock, it's not whole day type of thing.
No, it's only one day, correct?
Yeah. Second,
Okay, so the motion on the table is to allow Julie to close the library at 5 o'clock on either October 28th or 29th in order to hold a private reception.
2015.
2015.
Yeah, 2015,
To hold a
thank you.
private reception for the MLA conference. Any additional comments?
I would offer a friendly amendment that we rescind the other one, so you don't have any ambiguity on the schedule.
Why don't we do that?
Okay,
Go ahead.
No, to the maker of the motion, you have to amend it yourself. I'm recommending that you
make the amendment, the suggested amendment, and we'll let him accept it. And then we'll
suggestion
reset.
is that we rescind the prior authorized dates that were issued in error.
Okay?
I agree.
All right, so the motion currently on the table is to allow Julie to close the library on October 28th or 29th at 5 PM for the purposes of holding a reception for the annual MLA conference. We will also be striking off the previous approval of the October 15th through 17th date. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any comments? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion has approved. Thank you, folks. Next, we move on to matters for board actions. First item is the 2014-2015 goals.
Those are located on page 16, as transcribed from our meeting back on June 25th, I apologize, 25th. So I'm looking to see if there are any changes, wordsmithing, before approval, or if the board is comfortable, I'll look for approval.
Okay, I mean, I'll start off again. I'll just bring back the point I brought earlier. And I don't need us to make this ironclad, but I'm just gonna want some clarification as to goal number 2, when we start talking about reducing fund balance usage by 20%, whether we're talking about what we had originally budgeted or what we end up with at the end of the fiscal year. So I don't know what the original intention was. Regardless, the goal is good either way.
I would say we use the budget.
Okay,
I would offer an amendment to insert the word approximately 20% to give you some leeway. So 19.5% is close enough. 22 would be better, but
well, again, it's a goal, right?
Yeah, it's all.
So, okay, I guess you're right, because we're gonna hold her to those goals too. But, okay, but if we're gonna do that, then we really should spell out exactly which one we're talking about. And your recommendation is to use the actual budgeted fund balance.
Right, that way
Okay.
Julie knows specifically a dollar amount that she's trying to shoot for
Okay,
versus an unknown number.
well, wait a minute here. We haven't adopted a 2015, 2016 budget yet. We had a game plan for the second year look forward, but that, it was not official.
How about the estimated 2014, 2015 budget?
Well, we still have the opportunity when we do the budget session for 2015, 2016 to now listen and actually incorporate the reduction plan into the budget. So I think your point is academic.
okay.
If you want a target, then it could be 20% of the current two-year look forward, to give you some idea. But when she comes in for the next budget set, if she comes in at 24%, or comes in at 18%, because that's the best she can do, we'll have to evaluate whether that's acceptable to us, or our successors.
So I guess my purpose here is just for clarity for Julie.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
I just
I
want to
think
make
she
sure
needs
that she knows what the target is, and I agree, you bring up a good point. You know, we set the budget early on, we'll know early on what the target's gonna be for the following fiscal year. So.
And again, just as a reminder, this says to develop a fiscal plan for a reduction, okay? And if she didn't come up with a plan that was reasonable, then that would be bad progress towards this. If she had a good plan and came in somewhat above or somewhat below it, she's met goal number 2.
Right.
The purpose of that was, we
Not
want
if she comes below.
Yes, she would.
Because it's to develop the plan. So what we're asking for was, we want to see the ideas that you have that are going to give us a reduction.
So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You could, as read, you could be saying that the goal really is to develop the plan, not necessarily meet the 20%,
yeah.
but set up a plan to try to get there. And
Which
I
is
don't know.
why I offered the approximately 20%.
Okay.
So that
And approximately is
you're
fine.
shifting the focus back to the action of the planning versus the end target.
Yeah, we might well comment on
Yes.
the implementation of the plan, but it's kind of two different things. And if you don't develop, in my opinion, if you don't develop a good plan, the odds of hitting where you want to hit are reduced. So you set a goal to have a good plan, and then you march against it. That was my thinking behind it anyway.
Okay, so I'm
And
looking.
I'm fine with approximate 20%.
Okay. So, does somebody want to offer up wording? I mean, I do have a suggested one, if you'd like me to give a first try on that one, to develop a fiscal plan for the 2015-2016, to reduce the
You have the gavel, go.
budgeted fund balance usage by approximately 20%.
Of the current second year plan,
Okay.
right? That's what you're
Isn't
talking
that
about.
the 2015, 2016? What's the second year, Maybe I'm confused here.
At our last budget session, we
No, but-
formally
no,
approved
You said second
2014.
year, what is the second year?
That's what I'm saying. At the last budget session, we formally adopted the 2014-2015 budget, and we also did a look forward for the next year, the second year.
Which is 2015, 2016?
And all I'm saying is refer to that in the motion.
And that's what we did,
No, we didn't.
2015, 2016?
Develop the fiscal plan for the 2015-2016.
The 20% reduction is of the balance that we've already kind of set. That's the target that you want the action plan for, right?
Right, so I don't know what was our target now, so I guess the point he brings up is that we have a two-year look-forward budget, right? We have a two-year look-forward budget.
Currently, it's about 400,000 out of fund balance, which to me, I was understanding 20% of that.
Right here, on pages 17, 18, and 19, we have 2015, 2016 projected, it's in blue.
Yep.
Okay,
68.
right? And it says a maximum 468.
Yep.
And we're suggesting taking that down by 20%.
Okay, I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is say it in the motion.
Well, some of us think it says it, but it's.
It's just, I guess how you read it, you know?
All right, do you want to offer up a full
Tomato,
wording
tomato.
for that we can accept for number 2?
I agree
Go-
with Willie's.
Go with what you
Motion.
had, but it's 20% reduction of this number.
All right, so I'm just looking for the wording again. What we have is develop a fiscal plan for the 2015-2016, for 2015-2016, to reduce the budgeted fund balance usage by approximately 20%.
of the previously established projection or target.
Oh, yeah. I don't see what difference it makes. It's the same number. Right? That number's not gonna change. Is it?
Yes, when we get to next year, that number will change, because this is only a benchmark.
Yeah, but this is 2014, 2015.
That
goals
one's
that
locked.
we're talking about.
No, 2014, 2015 is locked. It takes board approval to change that. 2015, 2016 is only a game plan at this point.
All
And
right,
I'm
so-
looking to reduce it by 20%.
Yes.
To 460,000. I understand.
Yeah, okay. So we allocated in 2014.
But we ourselves can change it before she even gets to it. So if we decide, you know what, we said 468, we were just kidding, we're gonna start at 250, now lower it by 20% more and get it down to 200, that's a whole different, you know, orientation for her.
Okay, let me give this one more shot here, okay, just so that I understand it. Currently, the approved fund balance for 24, 2015 is 490, correct?
Yes.
Okay, 490K. Okay, my understanding of this particular goal was that we would try to shoot for the 2015, 2016 projection to be 20% lower than that figure.
Correct.
That's how I read
That's how I'm
yep.
understanding it.
So, and currently, it's set at 468. What is that percentage for you guys, the math majors?
Over 200, I mean, it's,
No, what is the percentage reduction from 490 to 468? Is it 20% or more?
No,
No, it's
Okay, so are we gonna, is the intention to revisit?
5%, something like that?
yeah, it's like, it's
Yeah, okay, so I mean,
quarter of
is,
it.
all right. So we have a projected budget for 2015, 2016, right? It's not a locked budget, it's a two-year projection. Are we going to be revisiting that in the near future to reduce that further so that we meet this 20%, approximate 20% goal? Because it would.
20% of what? Your question is it of the 490 or 20% of the 468?
468. 468.
Okay, so
You, it sounds like you want it accelerated into the current year.
okay, so what was your understanding of this goal, Julie? I think,
I was understanding that I was looking already at the projected numbers, and that the fund balance currently, we're thinking it could be projected at 468,000 that we would be needing to offset the budget, but you want that.
Max
down-
usage, and we're saying
Yeah,
you need
but
to lower that
you
by.
want it reduced by 20% of that.
Yes, that was my understanding.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
okay, again,
We just gotta get it on
You're-
paper.
I guess what I'm saying is your starting number that you're looking to reduce by 20%.
Yes.
Are you basing it off the 490 or the 468?
No, I'm basing off the 468 that's projected for 15-16.
Okay, so you're looking to reduce that
Because
number by
that's
20.
the budget I'll be coming and bringing you, and I know that in conversation, I know that in conversation, we all weren't happy with that number. So in order to bring it down 20%, that's what I'd be looking to do, to bring to you in January and February, so that when we roll forward, we're all in compliance with, yes, we wanted to see a 20% reduction, and that projected number to approve for the 15-16 year.
Okay. All right, so,
Now, again, point of information, the
Yeah.
490 includes designated capital outlays that we already approved in
Okay.
the budget.
That's why we
So,
can't-
and those are non-operational.
all right, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah, no, okay. All right, fair enough. So,
And we further, with the way we designated Fund 269, we'll address those capital outlays going forward with that fund rather than Fund 268. So our focus is on 268's budget.
Yes.
all right, so I am looking for one of my fellow trustees maybe to come up with some wording that might be agreeable for all of us, that Julie can work with.
Well, I understand it as it's written.
Okay?
I mean,
If that's fine, if it's fine for everyone to just leave it as it was written,
Because right now, that is the only fund balance number from 15-16 that we show,
Yep.
is the 460. Now, what you could do is you could base it on the adopted budget of 3/19/2014, so it goes back directly to this document, so that you know you're talking about 2015 and the projection.
Or you could say, develop a fiscal plan for 2015-16 to reduce the fund balance usage projected to be $468,575 by 20%.
Yes, there you go.
Then nobody's got to go,
Yeah,
where's that
right.
one, and why doesn't it match the one from the
That's the one
city,
we
and what
start
color?
with.
Yeah.
That's, yes.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with that in writing, so.
Or approximately, yeah.
Or you throw out and just say, set a maximum target of 350,000, which is really what you're trying to get to, 20% less, right? Than the 468?
Hey, I like more specific.
I mean, it's both the same.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
potatoes, potato,
Right.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah, but this way you don't have to figure out where you got the number from, you just, that's the
Well, we
target.
know where we got the number from.
But this is the projected
Yeah,
cost
the-
is already
yeah.
written there. Why not to leave this projected cost?
That's fine.
468,
Yeah,
the 20% of that, that's it.
That's it,
That's
yeah.
what it has,
All right,
yeah.
Fine.
all right, so.
Throw a motion out, or throw it out.
I
there.
think,
Go ahead,
I
Greg.
think, okay, did you want to go ahead and restate your number 2 for
Or
Marcia?
amend, less,
So that we got a final wording for, because I know she's sitting there ready with that pen.
I would make a motion that we change the second listed library goal for 2014-15 to read as follows. Develop a fiscal plan for 2015-16 to reduce the projected fund balance usage of $468,575 by 20%,
Approximately.
approximately 20%.
A second. Or do we have to have discussion?
No, you can have,
No,
motion
motion second, you're right, and I concur.
now we have discussion.
Discussion.
Anybody else have discussion? Okay, I think we probably ironed that one out, that's real
Oh,
good.
we beat the hell out
That's right. And we're entitled to have one of those every once in a while. I'm fine with that. Okay, all in
That's what the
favor?
attorneys-
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Julie, the ayes have it. You now have a set of goals for 2014, 2015.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I almost want to applaud ourselves, you know?
Good job, Greg.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next topic for board action is to approve the 269 library contributor funds budget for 2014, 2015. Okay. Can I have a motion?
Are we
I hear
talking about-
crickets.
Mr. Margolis, you want to give us a motion?
No, I want to wait till there's a motion on the table so I can discuss it.
All right, so we need a motion to discuss here. Do I have a motion? Would you like to make a motion?
No,
He's
I
waiting
want
for
to hear
discussion.
my comrades
All right, then.
endorse this.
We have no motion then. I will entertain discussion on this item then. Discussion.
Okay.
Sure.
It's my interpretation from the document that I was given that
Can I first clarify, do you have the document that's in the packet? Because the Finance Committee received one on Friday, which there was a mistake with, then there was a follow-up for Sunday. So I just wanted to make sure that you have. And it would be under the undesignated where the changes were made.
it appears I have the
Same.
Same one.
Great.
It's my understanding, or my interpretation of the document that we were given, that you've now taken the direction, Fund 269, and broke it down into 5 categories. The categories relate to general usage of the various sub-funds within 269 that are either going to be restricted or designated for specific purposes. One being collection and materials, one being buildings, grounds, and furniture, third one being programming, fourth one being technology, and a fifth is an undesignated or a catch-all. Okay? Further, what you did is that you took the information that was provided on the July 11th financial statements as of June 30th for the existing Fund 269 and tried to allocate it to these 5 categories.
Correct.
Okay? So you took the unrestricted fund balance, account 269,000.00-390,000, the $1,436,396.08, and you called it fund balance of 6/30/2014, and it's really the carryover from 2013.
Which is the numbers the city gave me to work with, right?
Okay, but
Yeah.
that's what it represents.
Right.
It's the carryover unrestricted balance from 2013, okay? There were also 16 other categories that totaled $115,892.20
Correct,
that had various restrictions.
which we helped reallocate.
And you tried to identify which of those fell into the 4 other buckets.
Right,
So we had a total restricted balance going into the June 30th fiscal year end of $1,552,288. And as we discussed earlier, we had net revenues over expenditures during the year of $37,472.49. So now we have an increased fund balance of $1,589,760.77 that you're trying to allocate to these 5 departments. Okay? So you have a beginning balance under collections and materials of $33,603.99. You have a beginning balance for buildings, grounds, and furniture of $54,244.67. You have a beginning balance for programming of $10,572.94. You have a beginning technology of $6,100. Okay? And here's where you lost me. Under the undesignated, you didn't take the $37,472 net revenues. You took the gross in interest on investments and unrealized market gains that total $48,843. So you must have netted 11,000 against the other categories to force those 5 things to add up. Excuse me, the 6 things, because you got the $1,436 carry forward to equal your beginning balance of $1,589,760. Okay? And at face value, it looks like you're close enough. Okay? Then you decided to add for the current year, 24-15, unsolicited donations of $6,000, $1,500 in each of the first 4 categories.
because that's funds that potentially could come in and go designated depending on how they're
Right.
received.
Okay?
Yep.
You also added $2,650 to the programming section for the Community Read program. So you've got $8,650 of new revenues Then you have various expenditures. In the collection and materials, you've got 4 items that total $3,705. In buildings, grounds, and furniture, you got 4 items that total $6,700. In programming, you got 2 items that are $22,6505. I don't know how you got the nickel, but okay, bless you. Under technology, you got 3,600. So you add those 4 up, and you got expenditures of $16,270. So if you're taking in $8,650 and you're expending $16,270, you expect there to be a decline in the fund balance for 269 of $76.20 5 cents. In addition, you're reallocating $46,051.84 out of building, grounds, and furniture and throwing it as undesignated. But that's just the net sum zero balance. So, at the end of the day, when we get to June 30th, 2015, you expect there to be a fund balance of $1,582,140.72, which is $76,2005 less than the balance that we're starting the year at. Do I understand that correctly? Okay, seems reasonable until you threw in the Friends thing at me. And I don't understand, you've got under buildings, grounds, and furniture, you got $300 for an HD camcorder and $4,000 for the learning stations, but those are on the Friends list.
Yep.
So if the Friends are paying for it, shouldn't there be revenue coming in to offset that?
And here's why. They actually paid for a check that should have actually come out of the June, out of fiscal year 2013-14. By mistake, it was paid out of our accounts. So now because they paid for it, we're now going to make sure that it's paid for on ours to offset their monies. They had given us the donations last year and they went into our accounts. This year, they're not going to. They're going to write all their checks specific so that we can keep their money separate and not, them paying it specifically from them. However, there was something paid that should have come out of our accounts and not out of theirs. Okay. So that does explain that right there.
So, so you got $6,000 of donation revenue. You got $1.5 million and you've got no earnings?
No earnings in terms of?
Investment income.
I don't know what that is.
The $1.5 million is invested in, it might only be earning 1/4 point or 1/2 point, but it's earning something.
Right, but I wasn't given those figures from the city. I started with their template with what they gave me to work from. So, I can guesstimate earnings.
Well, I would like to guesstimate $7,620.05 of investment earnings, so we got a net sum of 0.
Okay. Sounds great.
So the implications of that is that if we adopt this net sum 0 budget,
right,
we can spend, or you have the authority to spend $16,270.05 and no more without us amending the budget. It doesn't make a difference what the revenues is. You can come up short, you can go greater.
Right.
But you need board approval to amend 16,270. So the real question is, shouldn't you have a contingency to allow yourself a little flexibility?
And I appreciate that question because I'm currently working with a donor because this had to come forward, this is always going to change. There's a potential $8,000 that isn't here yet, but it will come in and probably go out because it's working for something that they're fundraising for, bringing into the library. The donations will be accepted, but it's being earmarked specifically for a purchase. So.
For a non-operational purchase?
For a non-operational, it's for a piece of artwork.
Then, again, I would caution you, then I would boost the revenues and I would boost the expenditures by 10,000 each to give yourself a little flexibility.
I just didn't,
Still
I
come
didn't
out
till
net sum
today.
0,
Yeah.
but
till today, I didn't know the numbers, and I wanted to get you something for the board pack. I mean, there's always gonna be things that come and go throughout the year that could even be greater than. What I'd like to do is quarterly update you on this report. I think that'll be helpful to you, since there are gonna be things that come and go, that I'm not gonna know of, you know.
Julie, is there any time sensitivity here? Can we revisit this again
You
next
can.
month? Okay.
And would you like then to see that investment earnings placed in it, that way it,
I just, and I don't know how to get there. I just want to make sure that if we bring this back next month for board approval, as an action item, that it's.
it would
yeah,
be
it's-
second draft, so,
So maybe we were a little premature this month bringing it to board action. So we can probably discuss whether we want to put this as a discussion item again, or if you feel comfortable enough that it'll be in a state that we can vote for support next month.
Sure.
We can put it in the action item. So does that sound okay?
yeah, absolutely.
With you guys? Okay. Okay, any additional comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we did decide earlier that we would not be going in executive session tonight, so I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favors?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Motion approved. Thank you.